Okay, guys, how are you guys this evening? This is our first meeting for the month of April. We have another guest speaker tonight. I will have Skylar introduce him in just a moment, but we also have some additional business to take care of tonight. So make sure you stay on at the end. It'll be fairly quick, but there's definitely some things that are coming up in the month of April that are very important. So I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Skylar.
Okay, our guest speaker tonight is Dan Pearson. He is responsible for the guest services. He's a senior manager and he handles admissions and information with the Daytona International Speedway and NASCAR.
All right. Well,
sorry. I was going to say we're going to turn it over to you, Dan.
All right. No worries. Well, good evening, everybody. And for anybody that will be watching later on, again, my name is Dan Pearson, and I oversee guest services here at Daytona International Speedway. And I'll share my email address with everybody afterwards too. So if anybody has questions from what I said or you want to connect, feel free to do that. You can also find me on LinkedIn if you'd like to do that too. But whatever I can do to try to help, you guys advance in your careers and, hopefully help you out past this, feel free to reach out and let me know. I'm more than happy to help out with that. But just in a nutshell, sports have been a part of my entire life. I've really enjoyed, playing sports, whether it be baseball, hockey, soccer, pretty much everything. But I knew I was never going to be a professional athlete. So working in sports was the next best thing. And my brother suggested that I do that. So from high school, I went off to NCCC. So I started at community college level and then transferred into Niagara University, did sport management the whole way through with a focus in event operations. And while I was at NCCC, the very first thing that I learned in one of my classes I was there was that if you want to be a part of sport, you have to be willing to travel. So, I lived in Buffalo my entire life up until I graduated college. And I really didn't think that I was going to get a job working down in Florida, but it just so happened to work out that way. While I was at Niagara, I helped out a lot with the game operations. I was one of the event managers for the hockey program while I was there my final year. Loved working in the penalty box. That was like my favorite thing to do while I was there. I was also part of the Niagara Power before Niagara took it over. So we were well before the glory years actually took place. So it was kind of some losing seasons and stuff, but it was a lot of great experience. Got to be the mascot and do concessions, do ticket sales, do pretty much everything while I was there. And that kind of helped me with my progress as to what I really knew what I wanted to do along the way. Worked with the World Junior Tournament one year while they had that. I was a part of the Super Bowl team that went to New Orleans, and I did not put the power out. That was not my fault. And I also was with the Buffalo Bills as a game day intern while I was in my senior year at the school. And then when I was right about to graduate, they offered me a graduate position to continue on to kind of do the day-to-day operations leading up to the following season. So I would say that really kind of got me going with sport. I really owe a lot to the Bills to get where I am now because they were so helpful because they knew that it was only going to be like a 1 year sort of a stint. So they gave me as much information, as much assistance to try to get a job anywhere once I was done with them. I did work on the side of Value Home Centers. So shout out to them. I give them a lot of credit to the customer service side, being able to interact with people and handle problems and be able to deal with negative people a lot more than just during events. Got to help me see a different side of customer service, but again, give me a great, experience with people and with working alongside people. And so when I graduated and I was working with the Bills, I ended up taking a trip down to Florida to see my brother. He lived about an hour south of here at the time. And we drove past the Speedway to go to a Jags game. And I thought it'd just be great to work somewhere nearby. Went home and literally the next day, the job that I currently am in was on Teamwork Online. Applied for it, took like 3 months, but I ended up getting hired by the Speedway. And so my current title is Senior Manager of Admissions and Information. When I first got hired, I was basically just overseeing the admissions side, but it's a big property. So to put it into perspective, we can fit about I think it's about 18 professional sports facilities inside of our infield. So that's pretty much every single major sports facility in the state of Florida can fit inside of our track. That's not including all the properties we have outside the track. our parking lots that we have, as well as the properties we have for shops and stuff across the street. So it's a lot of property. We have 101,500 seats along our front stretch, as well as a numerous amount of campers in the infield. So my job is really to protect the revenue line, to make sure that everybody that's on property has the correct ticket or credential for wherever they're trying to go. And then I also oversee our campground staff that are monitoring anything 24 hours a day. I'm also trying to make sure that, we're trying to prevent counterfeiting. So I'm working alongside our ticket office to make sure that everything is working well, that it's scanning well. I'm working with our credential staff to try to make sure that things are different from year to year so that we're not trying to shoot ourselves in the foot and try to get beat or lose revenue in any particular way. And I also oversee, I work right alongside security. It's really like a 3-in-1. It's guest services, security, and it's ticketing operations. On major event days like the 500, we oversee about 1,500 different employees and volunteers. So I oversee all the ticket gates, so all the gate scanning along the front stretch. I work with the bag check and wanding as well for guests coming in. We also, now with COVID, have to oversee temp screening. So that's one of the things that got added. We have 2 tunnels that go into our infield. So we oversee the staff there. We check RVs that are going to the infield. We check all the cars that are going to the infield for the correct vehicle pass, as well as the correct personal pass to go inside. And then, like I said, the campgrounds too. And then our information booths. We have about 26 information booths around the property. So my coordinator who oversees that works directly with me on all the information that needs to get sent out to everybody. It's a lot going on. There's a lot of turnover here with our employees. It's a state where you have a lot of retirees. So having COVID was a huge challenge because a lot of the retirees did not want to work until there was a vaccine out and they were able to get that vaccine. We have a lot of college students that work for us, and unfortunately they couldn't work because the schools weren't letting them work or they were a little too afraid to work. And then we have just a lot of people that are looking for a quick buck, or they're just kind of in town and they'll work a couple events and then they're gone. So we are constantly hiring and having to get people in the system throughout the year. But really January, February is our busiest season, and March. We have a ton of events here. So, you think Daytona, you think the Daytona 500, which is really the Super Bowl of racing. And it's a great spectacle that we put on, but we have just multiple weeks of events. From January 17th to about March 22nd or so, I was here every single day. So we did not have any time off. I was working anywhere from an 8 to a 14 to a 18-hour day with Daytona 500. So it just goes to show that there's a lot of hours that we had to put into it. We did multiple weekends of hiring events and training. Then we had a race at the end of January called the Rolex 24, which is an endurance race. So it's a solid 24-hour race. We're not all here 24 hours, thankfully, so we get to rotate that out. But we had events the week before that. The week after that was the Super Bowl, but we had events going on here that weekend. The following weekend was Valentine's Day. We had the 500. The following weekend after that was another race weekend because there was another track that couldn't host their events due to COVID, so we held them here. And then the weekend after that, we had to travel down to Homestead Miami Speedway and help out with that track because in 2019, NASCAR actually acquired the company that Daytona was a part of. So NASCAR was a separate entity, and the International Speedway Corporation had about 12 racetracks that NASCAR operated on. Long story short, it's actually all owned by the same family, but they had 2 separate companies, and NASCAR kind of just took over the International Speedway Corporation. So we've gone through a lot of changes since then, and one of those is that we've kind of regionalized our tracks. So we're in a region with Homestead Miami Speedway, which is about 4 hours south of here, and then also Talladega Super Speedway, which is about 8 hours northwest of here in Alabama. So we'll be going down there in a couple of weeks, but we did the 500, the road course race, the Homestead race. Then we came back, and then we had our Supercross race, which is a whole different crowd than what we dealt with the previous 2 crowds. It's the younger crowd. It's more like rebellious. I'll do whatever I want, however I want. And then we had another week of bike week, and then we were finally done. So, we were looking at almost a solid 3 months straight of nonstop work, but it definitely pays off in the end. I've got a lot of great employees that I can't say enough positive things about, just how much they've done for me and how great of a team we've done to handle everything going on top of just the events themselves, dealing with COVID as well. We were kind of out of the job in April and May of last year due to COVID. We came back in June. We held the very first event back with fans out of any sport across the world. in Homestead. And then we had the largest crowd with fans in the end of August with our Coke Zero Sugar 400 race that we had about 20,000 fans for that. And then fast forward to this year, and we had the largest crowd again at the 500 with about 33,000 people. So it's been very interesting to see how we've dealt with that, dealing with social distancing, mask mandates, and trying to enforce that. We've had free hand sanitizer everywhere. We've got staff walking around with signs to make sure you social distance. And even the campgrounds, we had to have the campers park a specific direction so that everybody was kind of in a separate pod so that people weren't commingling with each other, try to keep everybody safe and healthy. Knock on wood, so far, everybody's been healthy. We worked all those events last year leading up to Christmas, and that was when I got COVID myself, which was not even really during an event. I just so happened to get it, so that knocked me out for 2 weeks. Fortunately, I had antibodies working with me for the next couple of months after that to get through Speed Weeks. But fortunately, all of our staff really stayed healthy. We had a lot of staff that were getting the vaccine during events too, and that really made us feel better about things. But yeah, COVID's just been a huge battle for us, and we're starting to look at now protocols changing again with the CDC kind of loosening up a little bit when it comes to 6 foot to 3 foot, and when it's necessary to wear a mask. Is it necessary to do temperature checks anymore? So we're kind of looking at that and how we're going to deal with that moving forward, and being a part of all that planning, all the protocols and documentation that we've had. We've been able to share that with other racetracks, other professional sports companies, and being able to put that in place and kind of say that we were at the forefront of it is something that we take a lot of pride in. There's a lot of other states that are still shut down and just about to reopen, and we've been really going pretty hard at it since July and August of this past year. And unfortunately, like I said, most people have stayed healthy, and hopefully, by the end of this year, we'll be able to kind of revert back to our normal operations. But we've done a lot of things because of COVID that I can see us actually continuing on doing moving forward. I know our ticket operation, we did have a lot of physical paper tickets in the past, and now we've kind of done a lot more digital. So we've worked with tickets.com, came on board last year, and they really worked well with us in creating, the cell phone tickets. And a lot of people are still doing print at homes, but we aren't doing a lot of the commemorative, decorated tickets anymore. If you want a ticket, we'll print one out for you, but it's nothing pretty. So everybody's been pretty good about that. There's been challenges with it along the way, whether it's people trying to access their account, not having the ability to do that. We've tried to make ways for people to access it easier, whether it's having a QR code available for them to scan on their phone to take them to the website where they can log in their information. We've tried to put stuff up on, on social media. We've tried to do tutorials. We've put videos out there that we actually got to act in about, the things that we're doing on property to keep you safe while you're here, whether it's social distancing or wearing the mask. And I was out there cleaning tables and doing whatever I needed to do to just kind of show that. And the feedback's overall been good. We're now starting to get all of our comments back from our guests. We send out a survey to a certain amount of people, and we usually get anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 comments back for the 500. And we got beat up a little bit just due to the weather, because we did have a 5.5 hour weather delay on 500 day. So the race was supposed to start at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock came and it started raining. So we had to wait and wait and wait. And a lot of people thought the race was going to be over. Our staff did not tell the guests that the race was over, but some other concessionaires and third parties were like, yeah, it's over, just leave. You don't have to worry about it. They'll run it again the next day. And they get to their hotel or they get home and they saw that the race was actually going to happen around 9 o'clock. And they were really upset about that. So having to now deal with that and try to figure out how to, make things better with some of our guests that left. And then the issue with, when we did have the rain delay, everybody was inside the concourses in the venue, and it got really tight and crowded, and people were taking their masks off and they weren't practicing social distancing. So it was like kind of anything that could go wrong went wrong, but we got the race in and it was a good finish. And the guests that were there did have a good time while they were on property. But we have done a number of things that we're proud of that are cost saving, that we will continue to do moving forward, that we probably would have not known to do, or may have not known for a number of years had it not been for COVID. I mean, even working from home, we've each got to, work from home a couple of days a week. Some of us like to be in the office every day, but we kind of have that option depending on if you got family that have kids in school or anything like that. And And then our internship program is something that, we take a lot of pride in here at the track. It'll be 7 years actually on Wednesday, which is my birthday. So when the 7 years that I've been here, it's been something that we've kind of gotten better year over year on. We've kind of seen where we can have the intern do things and really excel in it. We've had interns that have, tried to take the initiative and learn projects and do things that, we're really proud of. But if you talk to any of our interns either this year or the last couple of years, I think you'd get a lot of positive comments that, we really help them try to land a solid job. And if there is opportunities available within NASCAR, because you've got NASCAR itself, which is corporate, and then you've got all the tracks that they own, not to mention the other tracks that they don't own. And then you've also got sanctioning bodies that NASCAR has. One of them is IMSA, which is a sport racing sanctioning body. So there's a couple different ways that you can get involved with the sport. And we encourage our intern, go through the internal portion of our website, look for jobs. If you see something, when the time comes, let us know and we'll try to refer you along and get you that experience. But we really try to get them to dabble a little bit in everything. They work alongside ticketing, security, operations, and then every single facet of the guest services department while they're here. And they really just get a fantastic experience while they're doing it. So whether that's a future, actually, I think we did have a Niagara University person who was our intern in 2016, but she wasn't in the sport management program, ironically. I think she was in the business program. And she just so happened to get a connection because her brother was working at the college nearby and just figured that'd be a neat thing to do. So we have had Niagara people actually intern here on our property, but we will have that open up. We usually post at the beginning of September, and then we'll hire that person sometime October, November to get them ready for about January 1st start date. So additionally, when it comes to our major events, we hire a lot of seasonal staff, but we would be in a really tight spot if we didn't have our volunteer groups. We have a program that we came up with called Daytona Gives, which stands for Group Incentive Volunteer Event Support. And we do pay our volunteer groups while they're here. So we pay them an hourly rate as opposed to a flat rate, because with the flat rate, we noticed that they would work a certain amount of hours and then they would just cut out. They would say, I met my total and I'm not going to be here anymore. So we've incentivized it by doing an hourly rate. So if we do have a weather delay, they're going to keep getting paid. And then we have incentives on top of that when it comes to training and other things they can do to get some additional revenue while they're here. And I would say on a good year, on a normal year, when we don't have COVID, some of our groups will make anywhere from $14,000 to $40,000 just based off of all the events that they work from January through our summer race in August. So our volunteers probably make up about, I would say, almost 75% of our workforce on our major event days. And we would be in a really, really tight spot without them. So we do a lot of work when it comes to word of mouth, spreading it out to our fan crew. That's what we call our event staff. So we came up with that whole change in 2015 when I first started. We wanted to give our employees something that they could actually be a part of. So we came up with the fan crew. Kind of got a little bit of a racing theme to it. We did a whole uniform rollout for them. So everybody's kind of got a different color mechanic shirt on. Really goes along with that theme. It's gone over really well. They feel part of a team. And the long-term fan crew that we've had here do truly feel like they're in a family with the group that they have. Because when we're here from January to March, they're literally seeing each other every single day. And there's a lot of people that are probably in their 60s and 70s that are here, and they're just fantastic workers. They kind of put some of the younger workers to shame with the work ethic that they tend to have. But we do get a lot of good college students here as well while they're on property. So I'm trying to think of some other stuff that I had going on. I've got some weird stories that I'll be happy to share with somebody sometime that are both some are kind of grotesque and other ones are just things that you wouldn't see happening. But we deal with a lot of guests who try to get away with breaking the rules, and whether it's hiding in an RV so that they don't have to pay for a camping wristband, or just trying to counterfeit stuff. We've had people that so the camping wristbands that we have are not that expensive, and people have actually gone to embroidery shops, taken like pieces of cloth and got it embroidered to try to use that to get inside. And it's like, if you would just buy it, it's probably the same price to buy the wristband as it was to actually just get that thing embroidered. But the other thing that was really good too was last year in 2020 when we had the president here. So Republican, Democrat, doesn't really matter to me, but just being able to actually work an event where the president was like there on property, it was something that I'll absolutely never forget in my entire life. I got to work right alongside the Secret Service because they had absolutely no clue how our property worked. So I got to become pretty close with the head of Secret Service that was here running the operation. And by the end of it, he asked for one of our mechanic shirts because he really loved it. And so we gave him one of those. And then he said, whenever you're in DC, if you're around, just let me know. And he gave me his card. And he's like, if you ever want to tour the White House, just let me know and I'll get you on a tour while you're there. So it's pretty neat. The people that you run into that you don't expect to actually, run into, and the events that you get to be a part of are just truly awesome. It was my 7th Daytona 500, so that was pretty cool as well. And being able to travel to go to Alabama, go to Florida, go to Miami. I've been to Kansas, and I've been to where else have I been to? I've been to another track as well. But just being able to travel as needed, it's especially now with the smaller group that we have within the company, there is more of a need to move around and share ideas and stuff like that. So it's been a constantly evolving position. It hasn't been very stagnant. There's been a lot of changes. I've been able to grow personally and professionally. Moving down here, I was able to meet my wife and we bought our first house and be able to do a whole bunch of that stuff. So I didn't plan on staying here long term. I thought I was going to turn to a couple of years and then be able to go somewhere else. And it's just turned into this career here that I'm truly blessed to have and very fortunate to have, especially right now with COVID, with so many people losing their jobs or being put on furlough, to be able to keep it on and being able to host events and have fans here and try to have a little bit of normal back has been something that I'll never forget.
So I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my whole PhD research stuff was on RV tailgating at college football games.
Okay.
And I've also actually gone to Talladega and interviewed and did surveys and stuff with the people there with RVs and stuff. I will say, I've never really followed NASCAR. And that was my first time going to a track, and it wasn't even on race day. This was on Friday.
Yeah.
And it was an experience, to say the least. And I was quite shocked at the number of campers and RVs and even tent campers inside the track. So I was wondering, can you tell me a little bit more about your RV, your camping, and all the things, the services and facilities that you have for that, and some of those numbers of campers that are allowed in the track, inside the track?
Yeah, absolutely. So Daytona is a little different than Talladega in the standpoint that there's literally a city built around Daytona, where Talladega is out in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. They're both the same size. They're both a triable track, and they look very similar in shape. But the way that they're set up, Talladega, I think, can fit, I forget how many acres of property they own, but it's thousands and thousands of campsites that they have on property. Daytona is a little bit smaller. So we have outside camping, which holds about, I think, 900 campsites, 900 RV sites. Wow. Most of them are non-hookup camping. So it's just, you have to have a generator if you want to have power. Our infield, we have broken up into a couple different sections. So our turn 1, turn 2 area down to almost turn 3 is RV. And then our turn 3, turn 4 area is all tent camping. Our infield fits, I would say, about 500 to 600 RVs. And it's a mix of dry camping as well as hookups. Our premium camping, which is on our lake, we have a lake in the infield that's a man-made lake. It holds about 200 campers, maybe a little more than that, and that's full hookup. So you get electric, cable, and water while you're here. And some of these guys are paying anywhere from a 10-day package up to a 14-day package for the outside. So these people will be here partying for a long time. We get a lot of seniors that'll camp on the outside because it's pretty inexpensive, but the inside, the Lake Lloyd camping package is somewhere about $2,000 for an event. But it's paying for 24-hour monitored guest services staff out there to make sure that all their needs are met, and then they get all the full hookups as well. So, and then the tent camping is it's a whole nother animal in itself. We've got about about 1,000 sites in there alone because they're a little bit tighter. But the things that these people bring is just hilarious. During the summertime, I would say about every other campsite has a blow-up pool, and they'll fill them up with water and they'll just lounge in them the entire time. And then with the RVs, you know, they'll bring they've got like these sky decks so they can watch the race on top of their RV. But then they bring all this additional stuff. Some guys will buy 2 sites and they'll have one for their RV, and then they'll set up a bar on the other one, you know, and they'll set up a party area next to that. And they got sound systems, and they bring out just all sorts of crazy stuff. I mean, and then the things that they'll leave behind post event, like they won't pack up their pool. They'll just leave their pool. They'll leave a TV behind or a grill. The fuel go post behind me, that was actually left by a camper, and I was like, I'm not leaving that outside. I mean, I'm reminded of wide right all the time, but it's great to, you know, to have some of this stuff. You know, somebody left a pool table one time, and in Talladega they leave recliners and Christmas trees and just all sorts of crazy stuff. It's a big old party. And that's really what they promote in Talladega, because it is in the middle of nowhere. They want you to go out there. They want you to party hard, be responsible about it. And then the day before the race, they have what's called the big one on the boulevard, where they have, like, they've got it's an old Air Force like runway, and they put a whole bunch of RV sites on there, and they call that the boulevard. And they do a party out there. They have the drivers who usually go out there in parade. They do like coleslaw wrestling. They do like moon pie eating contests. They do like a whole bunch of crazy activities, and then they finish it with a pre-race concert in the evening. So like on 500 day, we'll have a pre-race concert. It's usually a country artist. They'll do theirs the night before, because we have lights to run at nighttime. Talladega does not. So they have to get their race in before the sun goes down. Otherwise, they got to wait till the next day. So it's a little different there, and the party atmosphere is a lot different. They're way more laid back. They're way more just enjoy yourself. Here's a little bit more like a bucket list thing to do. Like, I want to go out to Daytona to say that I made it. I want to be a part of the 500 or be a part of the Rolex. But the camping aspect, when I came down, I did not expect to see everything that I saw, or just how dedicated some of these people are with their campsites. I mean, they will literally, like, they've shown me photos of, they set up a fake campsite on their back lawn to get every single square inch maximized on their property, about where they're going to put their TV, where they're going to put their chairs and their car. I mean, they really work hard to do this. So unfortunately, with COVID, we did not allow tent camping this year. And the way we had to set up our infield, where the tent camping normally is, we had what's called our competition bubble. So none of the fans were allowed to go on that side of the infield. So it was very restrictive with the type of camping that we had. A lot of our guests were very bummed about that they couldn't be here to be a part of it. So they're looking forward to coming back, hopefully next year, and being back to normal again in that regard. But yeah, the camping aspect is crazy. I mean, it's just, you know, I don't have enough staff. I don't think I'd ever have enough staff to actually, you know, watch the whole entire property when it comes to it. But they're great. The fans are usually great with my employees. You know, they'll bring them dinner from time to time. They'll say, hey, we cooked extra food. Here's something for you. And you know, they work really well together. So the camping aspect's fantastic.
Awesome. Do you have a lot of the same people? Oh goodness, I got echoey. Do you have a lot of the same people come back year after year, or do you guys track that?
Yeah, so we do. So especially with the camping for our events, we do usually about a month or two after the race, we'll do our renewal program. So anybody that had a site, they have like 30 days to renew their campsite for the following year. And for the Rolex 24 and for the 500, it pretty much sells out, because maybe that person's not going to use it, but they might try to sell it, or they might give it to a family member instead. So most people renew, and most people that you see, they have the RV passes on their windshield almost as like a badge of honor. So they'll have like 6 or 7 RV passes on their windshield to be like, yeah, I've been here, you know, 8 years in a row, and I can look at them and be like, yeah, I've been here that long as well myself. So there's not as many new people. The smaller events, not as much, but definitely for the 500 and for the Rolex and for our Supercross races. But we have a lot of people that renew. And then we've got our tickets.com has a back end program where you can pull up a person's account and kind of see what they've purchased in the past. Maybe if their site, they didn't renew, we can try to get them somewhere nearby where they were at, and try to help them out that way. So yeah, definitely a lot of people that do want to come back for our event.
Oh, that's cool. I know, based on what I experienced just on that Friday, it was exciting. And that was at a different, obviously, track, but it was still a very exciting experience just being around the RVs. And they did have a little bit of a parade thing on Friday as well. And it was just, you know, just to see and to hear the stories and the things that people were seeing what they were doing and talking about and stuff. Do you have other events that you guys hold besides races?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my first couple of years here, it was pretty much strictly races, but 2016, we did our first country concert festival. So it was a 3-year contract. It was called the Country 500. It was very original. And we had all sorts of groups. I mean, we had Florida Georgia Line, we had Kid Rock, we had Carrie Underwood was here, I believe. We had, I mean, pretty much all the big name artists over a 3-year span we had here, as well as some of the up and coming ones like Dan and Shay. I think Maddie and Tay were here. So we did a 3-year country concert festival. Now that got canceled in 2000 and after the 2018 season. But we did have another one that we were supposed to have last year. That is a 3-year contract. It's called Welcome to Rockville. It's actually this year, it's going to be a 4-day hard rock music festival. So they'll get like Metallica is going to be here for 2 days. Just a lot of the heavy stuff, but they'll have some lighter rock in there as well. It's really interesting to see how we set up our track for these other events. We have events here literally every single day of the year, except for maybe like Christmas and New Year's. So the track is rented in some capacity or another. We have a driving experience that we run pretty much, every day that we're not running an event. And then we do track rentals. We do graduations. We're actually supposed to have a soccer festival here July 4th weekend that got postponed to next year. So they're planning on doing a friendly they talked about doing like Team Argentina against another team in like a friendly. So we have we call it the football field. It's right by the start finish line. And they're going to actually set up additional grass on pit road to try to extend that out a little bit. And they're going to set up a soccer field in there. So it'll be a 3-day festival. They're going to do esports tournaments and some other stuff. So it sounds pretty exciting. So we're looking forward to that. And then we also do in the fall, we do what's called the Magical Lights. So it's a drive-through light festival that we have, and it has been running for 3 or 4 years now. Last year, due to COVID, was actually our most successful year because people didn't want to get out of their car, and they didn't have to get out of their car. They keep their window up. We could scan their ticket right through their window. We had a lot of first responders that came out that were given tickets to be a part of this. That was pretty cool. And there's some other stuff we do as well. We do motorcycles on the track as well as like on the dirt. So we've got 2 different types. Some of these motorbikes, they're going like 200 miles an hour on the big track. And I look at them riding around, and I'm like, I don't know how you're doing it, because all they literally got on is like a leather suit and a helmet, and you're just hoping that they stay on their bike the entire time. Yeah, music, soccer. They talked about doing football at some point, so we're always open to new opportunities. Especially we're an hour away from Orlando, an hour north of Jacksonville, so we're always trying to do something here at the track to bring people in, to bring people over, and we're looking forward to what else we have in store.
No, that's really exciting. I know. So I did my PhD at Tennessee, and not that long ago they had the game at Bristol, and so that was an exciting. I didn't go to the game, but I saw, just seeing that from the TV and the photos and stuff. I think that's a pretty neat thing to be able to do. And when you think of those NASCAR racetracks, you'd really just think of the races themselves. You don't always think about everything else that can be done in those facilities. So
yeah, absolutely.
Does anyone have any questions? I know I've sat here and bombarded the questions so far, but does anyone have a question? You can shout it out.
Anything and everything. I'm open to any questions you got.
I have a question.
Sure.
What is one piece of advice you would give to somebody who's trying to start working in professional sport?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is make sure that you're starting early and you're getting experience while you're in school. I mean, while I was going to Niagara, I was working in Niagara doing game ops. I was doing game day operations with the Bills. I was working in customer service at the hardware store. And then I was also running a floor hockey program as well. So I was doing multiple things just to get experience anywhere I could. And then just being able to try to make yourself stand out a little bit. One of the reasons why I got hired here was because they had just converted over to a software program called the ABI Mastermind system, which is what a lot of professional sports venues will use for scheduling as well as for payroll and compensation. And they had just rolled out with that. And with the Bills, they had been using that for a few years before them. So I believe NASCAR is now the largest company that operates with this program. And so we get to kind of dictate certain changes that get made. But when I was able to get hired, that was one of the things that was on the job application. I made sure to really amplify that I knew that. And so when I got the job, the Bills did what they could to give me additional training on stuff that I didn't necessarily know, just to help me out a little bit more, a little bit further, so that when I got here, I was even more ready to go and could help anybody out, be able to train other people out. So getting that experience is so important. They say making connections is super important as well. Just being able to, reach out to people like me. I know there's other people within Niagara that are more than happy to help out and give advice and stuff like that. But the experience part is just so critical, and really just, like I said earlier on, not being afraid to leave your hometown, to leave where you're currently at and be able to go somewhere else. It may not be forever. It may just be for a year or two where you might be able to move back. But, for me, it was a leap of faith, and I never looked back. It was just something that once I made that change, I was so happy for it. And then also, NASCAR is not one of those top 4 professional sports that you'll see out there. It's not the NBA, it's not the NHL, it's not the MLB, and it's not the NFL. And you can't be afraid to take one of those jobs either. I'm not a huge fan of NASCAR. I'll openly admit it. When I came here, I'd watched a couple of Daytona 500s at home, but I didn't really know that many drivers. I still don't know that many drivers. I still may only catch a lap or two. But when I actually got to work here and go on a tour and see my first 500 and feel how much power comes from those cars as they're coming around turn 4 here, going into the start finish line, like, it's crazy. It really made me gain that much more appreciation for the sport, because you really don't understand how dangerous it is and how highly trained these people are out there on the track that they're racing around on, and to go from track to track. I mean, being able to travel, I didn't really get to anticipate that when I got the job here. And within my first month, I had traveled to 2 different tracks to get experience. So that was pretty awesome. So, your favorite sport might be football, it might be basketball, but don't just box yourself into that one particular sport. And it's one of those things that, because I do work in NASCAR, like, I've got a greater appreciation for that, but I also still appreciate the Sabres, even though they're not that great. I appreciate sports, and I appreciate the hockey aspect. I really love watching football and hockey. So I think if I would have stayed in that, I may not appreciate those sports as much. And it's one of those things too. Like, I know other people that work in those industries, and it's nothing different than what I'm doing here. It's the same exact job. It's just there's different athletes out there on the field, so to say. So definitely do not be afraid to take a job in another professional sport, even if it's like, minor league stuff too, minor league baseball or another minor league sport. Some of those sports teams are even better, because you get to do every single aspect of the job while you're there. My former boss used to work in baseball a lot, and so he got to do everything from ticket sales to putting the tarp on the field. So it just goes to show that just don't box yourself in, and take what you can get to kind of start off, and just use it to your advantage moving down the road.
Awesome. Does anyone else have a question?
I'll say as well, one of the things when it comes to getting a job and applying for a job, one of the things that, especially when we're hiring an intern, we do not like hearing the word, I'm a huge fan of NASCAR. So if you're getting into a job interview, win a sport that you do enjoy watching, don't get into that interview and be like, I'm the biggest Sabres fan that's out there, because chances are you're already shooting yourself in the foot, and you're not going to be able to go any further with that interview opportunity. You can say you got appreciation for it. You really appreciate the sport, but, to say you're a huge fan of it. I mean, we've had a couple that have interviewed for us in the past, and they told us, that they're a video blogger, or that they have a social media page dedicated to NASCAR. And it's just one of those things that we went on the website and looked at it, and we got really worried that had they gotten hired by us, they would have not been doing their job, and they would have been down in the pits trying to interview drivers and stuff. And so it's kind of a dangerous thing for us when we hear those words. I'm a big fan of the sport. And then also, getting that experience is one thing, but also finding a good work-life balance for yourself too. I've got to be able to tell myself at the end of the day when to turn it off, and when to make sure I spend time with my family, make sure that I spend time with my dog and my cat, and make sure my house is taken care of. You can get really caught up in the job, especially all the days that I was putting in here leading up to the events, working 12-plus-hour days, taking my laptop home and working from home. I had to either set reminders on my phone, to just stop, or to just kind of make sure that I was working on a project, be like, okay, I'm going to finish that project, but that's going to be it. And I got to make sure that I'm done with it. You know, there's a difference between working too hard and not working enough, but you just want to make sure that you're finding that right position in your life, that, you know, you're not overdoing it. I tend to consider myself a person with high functioning anxiety. So I tend to overwork myself because it's just kind of in my nature to do that. And the older I've gotten and the more that I've kind of gone through my career so far, I just realized that, you know, I take really good notes for myself. I know what to prioritize, what's high priority, medium priority, low priority, and just, you know, get what I can done, but don't beat myself up if there's certain things that aren't completed at the end of the day. You got to give yourself some credit. You got to write down things that you're proud of, things that you've accomplished, because days will get long and days will get difficult, and you'll have people yelling at you and telling you that you're wrong and that they're entitled to a certain ticket package, or that, you know, they were supposed to go somewhere that they weren't. And I've got some notes written down for myself of just accomplishments that I've had here at the track, that I can like, okay, all right, I've had a bad day, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's still a good life because I've had so many things go right. So, you know, definitely take care of yourself along the way, and make sure that your personal health, your physical health, and your mental health are taken care of as well.
Thank you for saying that. I'm constantly, I feel like, telling my students, especially since we've had COVID going on, take some time to yourself. Like even just with us because of COVID, we are not having a spring break this year, or this spring. So we had one day off, which was last Friday. And then we've had 3 mental health or self-care days. And I know for at least my classes, I'm like, do not do any work for my class on these days. If you need more time, that's fine. Tell me. But it's because we have to balance these things out.
Yep.
And I think with us being at home more right now, we're not balancing them as well because we're home and we're working and there's no boundaries. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that's important.
Absolutely. One of the things that I was given while I was here is I do have a work phone. So I made the decision to have my personal phone stay on the entire time. I've never gotten rid of it. So it is annoying to carry around 2 phones while I'm here. But like you said, like when you're off the clock, and being a salaried employee, you're kind of always on the clock. But like when you're actually off the clock and can take that time off, I turn the phone off and I just have my personal phone ready, because it's one of those things where you can keep looking at it, look for a new email, or you get an update or a text message. And it just takes away from my family time. It takes away from me having some personal peace that I definitely need to have. So it doesn't matter if you're just coming out of college or you're in the middle of your career, you know, it's just, you got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Does anyone else have a question? Okay. Well, Dan, first of all, thank you.
Absolutely.
And we are so glad that you came and visited with us tonight. And it's up to you whether you'd like to stay and listen to our business, or you may hop off and go back to your family. It's, again, totally your call. I have the email for your Daytona email.
Okay,
is that the best one that is for them to get to a hold of you, or do you prefer?
I would say to use that one, because I do check that every day that I'm here. So
Okay.
If for some reason I was in the middle of a conversation, I could always send my personal email to them. But I would say that just send it to the D Pearson at Daytona National Speedway, or even a LinkedIn message. Either one's fine. So, you know, feel free to share it either way. But yeah, it was a pleasure to be here. I'd be happy to talk again in the future if there's a different topic or something that comes up that you want to know more about, whether it's COVID or just dealing with people or training.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff that we've had. So feel free to reach out with anything you got.
I will do that. Thank you again so much.
You're welcome. All right. Have a great night.
All right. Bye. All right, guys, we have a couple things to get through tonight, and then we'll be done. And I'll get you out of here fairly quickly. So let's see, community service. Every person has to do at least 5 hours of community service. They are due, I didn't change it. It's April 30th is when the hours are due. Sorry, I thought I put it in there, but I guess I didn't. My apologies. If we don't have these in there for every person that's a member, we will get penalized. It will happen on our next budget in the fall. I think it's 10%. So if you're volunteering with athletics at all, those are easy hours. If you've already done them, you can put them in the system. So you can go under My and You and go to scroll down where it's like your clubs and organizations, and you click on that and you'll see the Sport Management Association, and you'll see a spot where it says impact hours. I think that's what it says, impact hours. And you can click on that and fill in those hours. If you are in this and something else, you can use those same hours for both organizations. So that's a great little perk there. Do you have anything to add to that, Skylar?
No, not at the moment. If you guys do need help putting in the hours, we did record a video. If you reach out to any one of us in the club, and we can send it to you to help you log the hours.
Yes, and that's on me too, because I totally did not upload that either. I don't know. It's been a very trying several days for me, and some of you know, some of you don't, and that's okay. But anyway, I will send that out if you want that, and I will go ahead and add it into this as well. Let's see. Do you want to talk about the Day of Giving, or you want me to talk about this?
You can talk about that, and then I'll do the elections.
Perfect. Okay, so the Day of Giving, Niagara University has a Day of Giving every year, and it's on April 24th. So how this typically works is we have a link. If you click on this link, here, I'll show you what it looks like, just so you can see. So this is our sport management page. So what will happen is you want to share this link with everybody that you know. So put it on your social media, share it with your family, share it with your friends. Anyone that's a student, any student donations from Niagara, any Niagara students that donate, Father is matching it essentially. So while I know we have a goal of only $350, I think the last time we did this 2 years ago, we had close to $1,000 or over $1,000 that we raise. And this is essentially a fundraiser, super easy fundraiser. And all of that money we'll be able to utilize toward trips in the fall, because I believe we're going to be able to take regular trips in the fall. And this will be able to help reduce those costs dramatically. So just a little blurb about our club and stuff, and some pictures from previous trips. And then you can see, just some other information on here. But let me go back. So as I said, so if you guys put in $5, it'll be matched, and you don't have to wait till April 24th. You can start donating now. We are encouraging every SMA member to donate at least $5. So I know everyone is on a tight budget being a student, and trust me, I've been there. I know exactly what that's like. If you hopefully could do $5, I mean, we're not requiring it, but we're asking you to do that, because that'll turn into a $10 donation overall once Father's funds go in to match. So he has $10,000 that he uses to match when it comes to all the student organization fundraisers. So like I said, it's only for the student donations. So you guys put in $5, it becomes $10 essentially. But share with family, friends, and please donate. Let me see what's in the chat real quick. Let me scoot this over. So I'm gonna read that in a second, and I'm gonna let Skylar talk a little bit about the elections real quick.
Okay, so the elections, you can nominate yourself starting now until April 16th at 5 p.m. We do have the Google form link on here, and we can send that out in case you guys didn't get it yet. But when you do run for the positions, you have to be an SMA, and the only position that you have to have been a past, I can't think of the word.
Officer?
Officer,
No?
yes. To be a past officer is to run for president. But yeah, then we'll hold an election, and everybody in the club can vote for who they think they would like to be in the position. You just submit a bio, and then the bio will get sent out to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yes. When we do the voting, it will all be electronic. Even if we were in person, the voting would still be electronic, and it will be announced. Typically, we have a banquet at the end of the semester, and I know we've been kind of trying to get all of that squared away for everyone, so we can hopefully maybe even get together in kind of a spread out space. We're looking at the reading day, which is May 10th, just because there are no classes at all that day, and that way we don't have to try to be around everybody's schedules. So that's a tentative date. We're just getting some of the things finalized before we can fully announce the set in stone stuff. So let me see. I'm sorry, Briley, I'm reading your thing now. Yeah. Let me see. I'm trying to, I feel like I'm confused, but maybe that's me. Let's see. Let's go on to the next one and we'll kind of finish up and I'll come back to this. Do you mind talking about this one as well, Skylar?
Yeah. So our last panel for the semester, right? It's
Yes.
analytics.
It's broadcasting.
Broadcasting. Okay, sorry.
No,
It's
it's okay.
broadcasting. It's going to be April 26th. It'll be on Zoom. The link is there for you to register. I'm pretty sure we sent out the link as well to your emails to register. We'll have a couple speakers who are knowledgeable in broadcasting, and you guys will be able to ask them questions and learn more about it if you guys have not heard anything about it yet.
Yes, and we'll be announcing those speakers here in the next, hopefully, week or so. And the last thing that we have, again, is just here's our social media that you can find us. Are there questions that we can answer? So all SMA members will receive the link, the Google link for the forum for elections. I will send that out either tonight or first thing in the morning. And it's a simple form, just fill it out. Oh my goodness, sorry. My son's, Hayden, sorry, he doesn't realize it's being recorded. So, but anyway, and so if you have questions, please let me know. Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. That makes more sense, Riley. I don't know how we can make that work. One Riley's question or part of our chat was that, you know, having the ability for members that just graduated to go on the trips in the fall once we possibly start back up. The only limitation to that is it has to be a student. You have to be a student because of the funding that we receive from NUSCA in order to attend the trips. It's more complicated than that. And believe me, I would love to have you guys be on those trips because you definitely have earned those opportunities. But some of that is out of my hands. But it's definitely a question that can be asked. If you're continuing on to grad school, then we can possibly work some of those things out. I know that was a discussion we had the last year because our trip was canceled, like literally the week before we were, like a couple days before we were supposed to leave. So there were some people that were graduating then as well that we had this conversation. It was only going to be possible for those that were continuing on to grad school. But again, those are some conversations that we can continue to have. But thank you for asking that question. I was confused at first. I apologize. So let's see. Any other questions? Awesome. This recording will go up on YouTube hopefully tomorrow. And I will send out these different links for registration and for the election so that way you have them directly. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or any of the officers. And we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. Hold on just one.